he didn't have eyes. Not real ones. Just black pits that seemed to pull you in, like staring into a deep well at midnight. I was 10 when I met Prince Jabari. He came to our village during the dry season, riding on a horse as black as his eyes. His servants didn't speak. They just stood there, watching. The prince's skin was smooth like river stones, and his smile was wide, but it didn't reach his eyes. My mother warned me about him. She said he was cursed, that wherever he went, people disappeared. But no one could say no to him. He was royalty, and royalty in our land meant power that no one dared to challenge. The night he arrived, the elders held a feast in his honor. I snuck behind the longhouse, curious to see him up close. That's when I saw him feeding something under his cloak. It looked like a hand, but it wasn't human. The fingers were too long, the nails too sharp. It moved like it was hungry, twitching and grabbing at the air. "Do you want to see it eat?" he said, without turning around. His voice was soft, almost kind, but it made the hairs on my neck stand up. I froze. He shouldn't have known I was there. Before I could run, he turned to face me. His empty eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. He reached out, and I felt something cold grip my chest, like an invisible hand squeezing my heart. "Don't scream," he whispered. "It likes the sound." I don't remember getting home. My mother said I stumbled in just before dawn, pale and shaking. She didn't ask what happened. She knew. The next day, 2 children were missing. Their parents wept and wailed, but no one blamed the prince. They only whispered about how they must have wandered too far from the village. But I knew. I saw the look in the prince's eyes when he left that morning. He was satisfied. He came back every dry season, and every time, more people disappeared. Always at night, always without a trace. The elders grew thin and tired, their faces etched with fear. They made offerings, performed rituals, but nothing worked. Years later, when I was old enough to leave, I did. But even now, in the quiet of the night, I still see those black, empty eyes staring back at me. And sometimes, when the wind howls just right, I hear his voice. "Don't scream," it says. "It's still hungry."